because essentially our society has created such a fight or flight mechanism to be lived in, when in reality that response is supposed to only last for long enough to get away from the lion. Instead,
kind of take on it, because that shit stresses me out. And I think that's the source. I think that's the source of many people's, the rise of anxiety, being a thing.
All right. I got to say something to that. Okay. So first thing is very interesting that you just pointed out. I just realized I just did a mental inventory of the people that I know who are most enlightened and most intelligent, such as yourself, who are as deep a thinker as you are. And I just realized that multiple of them have that phone or older. I just realized one of my buddies, I really want to get him on the show. He's unsure if he wants to actually come on and talk about his specific stuff, but he's got I think it's not a flip phone, but it's one of those ones that just kind of comes, it doesn't flip or open, but it's got the buttons, and it's just, he literally doesn't, I was literally doing a mental inventory and I was like, what? Some of the smartest fucking people I know are completely unplugged. Mm-hmm. So the other thing that I want to say, you're talking about the rise of anxiety and where it's coming from. Mm-hmm. I have this thought. Mm-hmm. So back in Paleolithic times, right, if you look at the DNA structure of which the human has, well, our DNA has not changed super significantly. I don't remember the percentage. It's like 0.001 something or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's extremely small in terms of percentage change from the DNA of which was predominant. I don't know when Paleolithic times were, 10,000. I have no idea. But the point is, our DNA doesn't change. That means that the vehicle isn't changing, right? At least not the evolutionary perspective of which a lot of people would like us to.
I can tell you you're right on target with exactly what I'm thinking. So keep going. This is great.
Where I'm going is that I think that our mind has that DNA structure along with the rest of the body, of course. But what we're doing is we're taking the vehicle, or we're taking the animal, right? I call them the vehicle that we drive, and we're putting it in circumstances of which it's not designed to operate in, nor is it even capable of operating at these circumstances for long periods of time, because essentially our society has created such a fight or flight mechanism to be lived in, when in reality that response is supposed to only last for long enough to get away from the lion. Instead, we have this
fucking bingo, dude.
Instead, we have this fight or flight mechanism that is essentially going off at all times, 24/7 in some cases for people. And a lot of times, this is why I always go back to the money. I think air is a resource. I think food's a resource. I think money's a resource. And without any of these resources and such, without money, you're in a fight or flight response at all times if you want to operate in society and not just live in the woods. So you've got this bill coming in. You have this boss that you can't actively just go in and kill, right? Because that's not how we live. So you have to put up with this boss. So you're going to feel this fight or flight response with this boss who's an asshole. You're sitting in traffic. And an amazing study that was done on traffic is that, as you're driving, you're at a heightened consciousness awareness, because you're actually going at 60 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour, or whatever. And people think they're relaxed while they're driving, but their actual neuron makeup is not relaxed. Yeah, it's going fidgety all over the place. And that's why people flip out so quick with road rage, because they're actually in heightened levels when they think they're relaxed while they're driving. They're not. Anyways, what I'm saying is that you take this DNA structure, of which was designed to operate within a past structure of environment, being get food, get water, have sex, and survive. That's really it. Now, yes, there was horrible plagues and there was all this, but there wasn't, I got to keep up with this bill. I have to keep up with Facebook. I have to talk to this person. I have this many people in my network.
Yeah.
People,
it's overwhelming.
Supposedly people aren't even designed to handle more than 100 personal connections in their life. Mm-hmm. I have thousands. I'm a fucking networker. Yeah. That's what I've done for 15 years is network. Mm-hmm. That's why if I want a job in California, I'll just make a phone call and I'll move to California and I'll have a job the day I get there. I network across whatever. So I'm not even designed to do all these these things. So just even to build a business, you have to do the business, you have to get the inventory, you have to do the taxes, you have to get the employees, you have to have insurance, you have to do this is that marketing, this sales. I don't think we're designed for any of this shit. And I think it is slowly eroding the internal mechanisms along with the lack of good food. Like spinach used to have some form of vitamin, we use vitamins, mineral properties and such, that now you have to consume like 10 like spinach leaves to equal one of a spinach leaf from like 40 years ago, just because we're constantly irrigating and using the same soil over and over.
Yep.
So you're
No rotation of crops.
yeah, so you've got the DNA structure that's not designed for the society of which we live. You've got less and less effective food being eaten. You have the water sources that are contaminated, essentially, whether it's through estrogenic properties, which is coming through the water supply.
But what about the fluoride?
Yeah, okay, you got the fluoride coming in too. You have all these foreign chemical agents being brought in as well.
Well, pharmaceuticals now being found in the water
just to make us fucking function
but
in
even
the society.
but not even I'm not even talking about purposefully. I'm saying like they can't filter that shit out and it winds up getting back in, and people are doing blood tests on fucking even infants and finding all this shit that they shouldn't be finding.
Then you have the radio waves.
And microplastics.
Yeah. So you have all of this stuff being bombarded upon an animal, essentially, DNA wise, that is not designed to handle any of this. I think that's where all these fucking mental problems are showing up from.
Yeah.
We are malnutritioned, living in an alien environment, because this environment, until the Industrial Revolution, did not exist. And now, the internet age, obviously that built more, right? And it's just getting faster and faster and faster. Dude, the highest functioning people that I know, I'm finding they're on all these drugs. Like they're on cocaine to keep them up. They're on Adderall to keep them focused. They're on some form of like downer to get them to sleep. They're on like, and they're young.
Yeah.
Supposedly there was some study done where like they take they showed that, I don't know, sometime back, I love how I can fact check myself. Anyways, sometime back in history, the highest extent of the stress levels which somebody could experience was, they would have to reach like age 25 or 30 to feel the highest stress they'll ever get to in their life. On like a daily basis, obviously you'd be more or less stressed on a day. And supposedly nowadays it's by the time you're like 3 years old. And it's like you think about that, you're like, how the fuck can that be? But because of someone's perspective and a child who hasn't experienced much with the TV of which they're watching and the stressful situations they're seeing on the TV, and since the mind's eye cannot actually differentiate between what it's seeing is actually happening to it or if it is simply something being thought about, so the situations that the infant is seeing on TV is actually stressing the fucking kid out to the level that they're experiencing stress they shouldn't experience till they're 30. And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And like the last piece I'm just going to touch on is, the rise of ADD. I had someone bring this up to me recently, and I was floored when she said this. She goes to me, she's like, you know what I think about ADD? She said, I think that ADD is a coping mechanism that children are developing through the evolution of the mind to deal with the society of which they're being born into. And the reason it's becoming more and more prevalent, because if you don't have ADD, you can't function in the society. If you focus on one thing at a time, you'll never make it in the social media realms up there, because you got to look here, you got to look here, you got to talk to this person, respond to this person. And she thinks that ADD and ADHD, the rise of it, is specifically because of a coping mechanism that's coming along for people to be able to function in the society of which we exist in.
Don't put me on your level. I am not like you. I'm not gonna settle. Body bag, got a right tag. I'll be right back. Rip off that mask, slip on that glass, fight back.